Welcome back to Gameshock TV, and apparently, I'm Chris Hewitt. And if you don't want to know what's coming up in part 2, then look away now. Steve squares up against the great outdoors, and we dish the dirt on all the month's top releases. You may not have noticed, but summer is allegedly upon us. In theory, we should all be frolicking in meadows and falling asleep into a great big jug of Pimm's, which is not recommended, by the way. It's quite dangerous. Anyway, in an effort to enjoy the great outdoors, we send Steve Hill to take on Mother Nature, armed with only a 9-iron and some intermediate golfing skills. Well, basic, really. He can swing, but can he putt?
Hi, I'm Steve Hill. This is Gameshock TV. It's a beautiful day for a game of golf. One of the key skills in golf is club selection. Today, I'm going to be using this. This is golf. It's actually like being on the course. Make golf come on my television. Press B. Oh, just play. Whack! Shot. That's probably the best shot I've ever played in my life. Second shot, Tiger addressing the ball. Should be a simple putt for a player of his calibre. Terrible. Shambolic. Embarrassing from the former world #1. Oh, f***'s sake. Finally, an embarrassing 4 over par. Oops. Tiger visibly shaken by that. Holy beat. Tiger is not happy. Just the 5 over par there. Perhaps better stick to the real thing. Yeah, I've been playing Tiger Woods on the Wii, which is an excellent rendition of golf. You know, the swing is fairly tactile. You do feel like you're getting into the ball. Tiger himself looks slightly like him, slightly more sinister. Allows you to play some of the greatest courses in golf. Sadly, for me, does not have Queen's Park pitch and putt. We're here at the home of golf, Royal Queen's Park pitch and putt, where we're comparing Tiger Woods on the Wii with the real thing. Which is better? Find out now. These aren't mine, by the way. Just another shocking example of urban decay in Cameron's Britain. 6 hole, 54 yards locked in. Nice wide fairway. What can go wrong? Whack. Hello. Whack. Poor. Just weak. Pathetic. Sit. Oh, par's it. Glory. Par on the 4th. Playing golf on the Wii is all well and good, but open the curtains, embrace the outside world, get yourself a suntan, get down to your local pitch and putt. This is real golf. Get off your fat asses and stop playing the Wii.
Typically, the games industry has reacted to these sunny skies and soaring temperatures with a series of dark and twisted games best played under the duvet. No, not those sort of games. It's not that kind of show, you filthy-minded beggars. Anyway, let's take a look at what you'll be getting to grips with under the sheets this month. What? The Schizophrenic Fear series reaches a hat-trick with the usual mix of frantic shooting, supernatural horror, and preposterous storyline. The big difference this time around is a 2-player co-op mode, and the game appears to have been designed to be played this way, with going it alone proving prohibitively difficult. You play as one of a pair of brothers, one of whom is dead, which isn't as much of a hindrance as you might imagine, as he's able to occupy the bodies of enemies and effectively become them. It's been done before, but it's a neat trick nevertheless. Not afraid to liberally pilfer from other games, Fear 3 also directly lifts a multiplayer zombie mode from Call of Duty. Overall, it's an entertaining shooter with some passable scares thrown in. In a fit of irony not seen since Alanis Morissette's heyday, American McGee's latest Alice is nothing short of maddening. What initially stands out as a startlingly warped and brilliant twist on conventional platform slashing degenerates into a turgid and overlong series of genre tropes. The story itself is both novel and intriguing as you guide Alice through her distraught mental landscape, trying to piece together the root of her insanity. How immersed you become, though, will largely depend on your resilience to grading voiceovers and two-note music. Alice is littered with a dire selection of overacted vocal stereotypes and ham-fisted attempts at some admittedly difficult dialogue. If you can stomach an evil rat voiced by Dobby the House Elf's more annoying younger brother, then you're either made of stone or completely deaf. And this is what makes the game so frustrating. At its heart, Wonderland is an ingeniously imagined world, and there's great fun to be had with the inspired weaponry and twisted enemy models. But even its unusual and beautiful graphic style, which should be the standout feature, is blighted by some dull and repetitive textures, and the interminable level design dilutes any joy you get from the initial originality. A little tighter scripting, some less drawn-out platforming, and more forgiving difficulty spikes, and this could have been a real treat. As it is, Alice Madness Returns is a solid and mostly enjoyable game that you can't help but feel could have been so much more. From an intro that plays like the start of a sci-fi TV movie, Hunted, the Demon's Forge overcooks the cheese and ultimately results in a bit of a gooey mess. In a series of hypercharged genre cliches, you battle the plagiarized evil hordes in an ill-advised state of undress, either as a steroidal warrior or tug-and-slinky elf. Neatly, however, you're able to switch your stereotype of choice throughout the narrative, meaning you can choose to play the game in a binge of hand-to-hand combat or as a slightly less conventional bow and arrow shooter. There's a pleasing camaraderie between the leads, which segues nicely into a very welcome co-op mode, either online or split screen. But beyond that, there's not much you haven't seen before. Inexplicably cackling skeletons, candlelit dungeons, and mysterious witches with impressively toned midriffs, all present and generously upholstered, but rendered less than appealing via a cut-and-paste texture system, environments that are immune to lighting, and some graphics that would have been passable a generation ago. While it won't win awards for originality, the story plays out competently and enjoyably, but contrary to some violent and gory action, it seems geared specifically towards lonely teenage boys. If you're lacking your quota of fantasy violence, this will tick all the boxes you'd expect, but the cheese factor may make this unpalatable for those after something more refined. And at last, out of the darkness and into the light. From the mind of Tetsu Mitsuguchi, the designer of the similarly esoteric Res and Lumines, Child of Eden stakes a claim to be a core Kinect game and sees you shooting at enemies with a flick of the wrist, with each hand operating a different weapon, all to a pounding trance beat. Despite the claim in the box that it's better with Kinect, the vagaries of waving your arms about mean it's actually easier with a normal controller, and of course, you get to sit down. The fact that there's an invincible mode suggests that this is more of an experience than a game, and while it can be mesmerizing, particularly in the right frame of mind, ultimately, you're directing traffic in front of a glorified screensaver. After War for Cybertron, we expected so much. Sadly, like the movie, Dark of the Moon suffers from the law of diminishing returns. The first few minutes as a lovable bumblebee on a mission in South America are sadly its best. Hot-wheeling it at top speed before tapping the analog stick transforms you into a hulking robot sounds like a blast. And it is, until you try the trick near any Decepticons. Turns out your Autobot form is more pathetically wimpy than a bowling alley burger, meaning in order to get anywhere, you'll spend the rest of the game firing guns out of a yellow Camaro. Not the greatest of news for a franchise built on bitch-slapping robots. The levels are too linear, constantly shepherding you into small areas, such as caves, that are inexplicably able to accommodate 30-foot-tall alien machines. Levels are strung out by recurring hordes of Identicons, while the end-of-level bosses are notable mainly for being vaguely different. The decent multiplayer musters more enjoyment than the campaign, but is actually a step back from War for Cybertron. Die-hard fans will no doubt find a twinge of childhood joy buried deep, but to be honest, you'd be better off dusting down your toys from the attic and reenacting the film on the living room carpet. Well, that's just about all we have time for in today's show, leaving only this pointless bit at the end where I say things like, well, that's just about all we have time for on today's show. Join us next month for more game news, game previews, and a bit at the end where I say, well, that's just about all we have time for on today's show. See you then.